Rain fell hard on the rusty roof of Jax's apartment building. The sound was like 1,000 tiny drums playing all night long. Inside, Jax sat on his old couch, eating noodles from a cup, and watching an old Earth show about space pirates. His hands were still dirty from working on a hoverbike that morning. Jax lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of New Seattle, a city built above the ruins of the old one. Life here wasn't easy. Jobs were scarce unless you worked for the big companies, and Jax didn't like taking orders from suits who never got their hands dirty. He heard a soft knock on the door. At first, he thought it was the wind or maybe a stray dog looking for shelter. But the knock came again, this time weaker. "Who'd be out in this weather?" Jax muttered, putting down his noodles. He opened the door slowly, expecting to see a neighbor or maybe someone trying to sell him something he didn't need. Instead, he saw a girl. She was curled up on the floor outside his door, soaked from the rain. Her skin had a faint blue glow, like moonlight underwater. She wore a torn red and white uniform with a logo stitched on the chest, Galactic Pizza Express. A small pizza box lay beside her, still dry. Jax blinked. "What the—" He crouched down and gently shook her shoulder. The girl stirred, moaning, softly. Her eyes fluttered open, big, round, and silver like polished coins. She looked confused, scared, and very tired. "Delivery," she whispered. Her voice was weak. "Late. Delivery." Then her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. Jax stared at her for a moment, then at the pizza box, then back at her. "Well, this is new," he said. He grabbed a blanket from inside and wrapped it around her before carefully pulling her into his apartment. She was lighter than she looked, almost like she hadn't eaten in days. He laid her on the couch, then stood back, unsure what to do next. Alien girl, pizza box, delivery? He rubbed his face. "I must have hit my head harder than I thought." Still, he moved quickly. He grabbed a towel, dried her off, and checked her pulse. It was slow but steady. He made some hot tea and waited. After a while, the girl began to stir again. Her eyes opened slowly. This time they stayed open. "Where am I?" she asked. "My place," Jax said. "You collapsed at my door." She sat up slowly, wincing. Her hand went to her side like she was hurt. "Water?" she asked. Jax nodded and handed her the tea. She sipped it carefully, then smiled a little. "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome," Jax replied. "So, Galactic Pizza Express? That real?" She looked at him like he was joking. Then she realized he wasn't. "Yes," she said. "It was real, before the war." Jax raised an eyebrow. "War?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at the pizza box near the door. "My order," she whispered. "I have to finish the delivery." Jax walked over and picked it up. It felt heavier than it should. There was no smell of food coming from it. "You sure this is pizza in here?" he asked, holding it up. She nodded. "Yes, but not for eating. That." Caught Jax off guard. "Not for eating?" She reached out a shaky hand. "Please, let me give it. It's important." Jax hesitated, then handed the box back. She opened it slowly. Inside there was no pizza, only a glowing orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. Jax took a step back. "What is that?" The girl looked up at him, her silver eyes full of worry. "This," she said, "is why they are hunting me." Before Jax could ask another question, there was a loud crash outside. Something hit his window. Glass shattered. A drone hovered just beyond the broken pane, black, sleek, and armed. Red targeting light danced across Jax's chest. "Oh, hell," he said. The girl jumped up, suddenly alert. "They found me," she whispered. And then the shooting started. Jax dove behind the couch just as the drone fired again. A red beam cut through the air and blew a hole in the wall. Sparks rained down like fireworks. Ziri, she had told him her name when she first woke up, moved fast. She grabbed the glowing orb from the box and tucked it into a pouch on her belt. Then she pulled Jax to his feet. "We must go," she said, voice firm now. They will not stop. Who won't stop? Jax asked, still trying to catch his breath. The ones who destroyed my home, she said. The ones who killed everyone else. Outside, more drones were arriving. Their hum filled the night like angry bees. One smashed through the front door, its mechanical limbs clicking as it scanned the room. Ziri moved before Jax could react. She kicked the drone hard in the side. Its sensors flickered. Before it could fire, she yanked off a panel on its back and ripped out a bundle of wires. Sparks flew. The drone twitched once, then went limp. Jax stared. You just took apart a killer robot like it was nothing. I was built for more than pizza, Ziri said. What does that mean? Jax asked. But Ziri didn't answer. She ran to the window and looked out. There's a hover car 2 blocks east, she said. We can reach it if we move now. Jax looked at the mess around him. The broken window, the scorched wall, the smell of burnt plastic. My place, he muttered. I am sorry, Ziri said. But if we stay, we die. That got his attention. They slipped out the back door and ran through the alley. Rain soaked them again in seconds. Thunder rolled overhead. Behind them, the sound of metal feet clanking on wet pavement grew louder. They're following us, Jax panted. Yes, Ziri said, and they won't stop until they have the seed. The what? The orb, she said. It is called a stellar seed. It holds the power to light up dead stars or destroy planets. Jax almost tripped. You're telling me that pizza box thing can blow up a planet? In the wrong hands, Ziri said. Yes, Jax shook his head. Great. Just great. I opened my door to a lost girl and now I'm running from space robots with a world-ending pizza topping. Ziri gave him a confused look. I do not understand that last part. Forget it, Jax said. They reached the hover car, a rusty old model parked under a flickering streetlight. Ziri pulled a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. The car unlocked with a soft beep. You know how to drive this thing? Jax asked. I know many things, she said. She jumped into the driver's seat. Jax barely got in before she hit the gas. The car lifted off with a jolt and sped into the sky. Below, the drones stopped chasing. They hovered for a moment, then turned and disappeared back into the storm. Jax let out a long breath. Okay, that was terrifying. Ziri kept her eyes on the road. They will return. Yeah, thanks for the good news. After a while, Jax asked, So, what now? Ziri looked at him. Now I finish my delivery. But you said your customer was already dead. I did, she said. But the order still stands. The seed must be placed. If VexCorp gets it, they will use it to control whole star systems. VexCorp? A powerful company. She said. They started the war. They wanted to control everything. Galactic Pizza Express was just one of many small businesses caught in the crossfire. So you're saying you were delivering food during a galaxy-wide war? Ziri nodded. Yes, we were neutral. We delivered to both sides. But in the end, no one was left to eat. Jax stared out the window. Man, I thought my life was rough. Ziri glanced at him. Why did you help me? Jax shrugged. I don't know, you looked like you needed help, and besides, I've always liked pizza. Ziri smiled a little, then her smile faded. There is something else. What? Ziri reached into her pouch and pulled out the orb again. It glowed softly in her hand. This seed, she said. It was meant for Earth. Jax blinked. Earth? Like our Earth? Ziri nodded. Yes, this was the final delivery. The address was your apartment. Jax stared at her. So, what are you saying? That someone ordered a planet-sized pizza and my place was the drop-off spot? Ziri looked serious. Maybe. Or maybe you were chosen. Chosen? For what? To protect the seed, she said. Until the right time. Jax leaned back in his seat. Well, he said, this is officially the strangest day of my life. Ziri looked out at the dark sky. It's only going to get stranger, she said. The hover car flew through the stormy sky, its lights cutting weakly through the thick rain. Jack sat stiff in the passenger seat, eyes wide as he watched the city, below shrink into tiny glowing dots. Scifi kept her hands steady on the controls. Her silver eyes scanned the radar. Red blips were appearing, fast-moving, closing in. "They're coming," she said quietly. Jax turned to her. "Who? VexCorp?" She nodded. "Yes. They have tracking tech that follows the seed's energy signature." Jax looked at the glowing orb still tucked safely in her pouch. "So basically, you're carrying a big neon sign that says, 'Catch me.'" "If you can?" Scifi gave him a blank look. "That is not far from the truth." Before Jax could reply, an explosion rocked the car from behind. The back window shattered. Sparks flew from the control panel. "They hit us!" Jax yelled. "I noticed," Scifi said, yanking the steering lever hard to the left. The car spun sideways, dodging another blast. 3 sleek black ships now surrounded them. VexCorp drones, fast and deadly. Each one fired red beams that lit up the night like lasers. Scifi dove the hovercar down into a narrow alley between 2 tall buildings. The drones followed, scraping against the walls but keeping up. "We can't outrun them forever," Jax said. "No," Scifi agreed. "But we don't need to." She pulled the car into a tight turn and shot toward a junkyard on the edge of town. Old machines, broken ships, and rusted parts lay scattered across the muddy ground like bones. "Why are we going here?" Jax asked. "Because this place has cover," Scifi said. "And tools." She landed the car behind a pile of old metal scraps and shut off the engine. "Now," she said, standing up. "We fight." Jax blinked. "Wait, what?" Scifi was already moving. She jumped out and ran toward a pile of scrap wires and broken panels. Jax groaned. "I knew this was a bad idea." He grabbed a wrench from under his seat and followed. Outside, the rain had turned to icy slush. Thunder rolled above. In the distance, the 3 drones landed, with soft thuds, their mechanical legs clicking on the wet ground. Scifi stood ready. She pulled a small device from her belt and twisted it. A blue blade popped out, a plasma knife. Jax stared. "You've got a laser sword, and you didn't tell me." "It only activates in combat mode," she said. One of the drones stepped forward. Its voice crackled like static. "Hand over the stellar seed. Resistance is pointless." Scifi raised her weapon. "Tell your boss to come get it himself." The drone lunged. Scifi moved like lightning. She ducked low, sliced through one of its legs, then flipped backward as another drone fired at her. Sparks flew where the beam hit the ground. Jax ducked behind a pile of scrap. He wasn't a fighter, but he was a mechanic. He looked around. Nearby, half buried in mud, was a broken power core from an old battlesuit. Wires stuck out like tangled hair. He had an idea. He ran to it, pulling out the loose cables. Back near the fight, Scifi was holding her own, but barely. One drone was down, sparking and twitching. The other 2 were pushing her hard. Jax shouted, "Scifi, aim one of them this way!" She saw what he was doing. Without hesitation, she kicked one of the drones straight toward him. It crashed into the ground beside the power core. Jax slammed the last wire into place. There was a flash of light, and a loud crack. The drone exploded in a burst of sparks and smoke. Scifi spun and slashed the second drone's head clean off. Silence fell again. Only the sound of rain filled the air. Jax stood there, panting. "Okay, that actually worked." Scifi walked over, her blade gone. She looked at Jax with new respect. "You think fast," she said. Jax shrugged. "I fix things for a living. Sometimes fixing means blowing stuff up." Scifi looked at the remains of the drones, then at Jax. "You are not just a mechanic," she said. Jax smiled tiredly. "Guess not." Then Scifi's face went serious. "This was only the beginning," she said. "They will send more." Jax groaned. "Of course they will." Scifi looked at the glowing orb in her hand. "We must keep moving," she said. "There is still one more delivery to make." Jax sighed. "Let me guess. This one also involves shooting and explosions?" Scifi gave a small smile. Most likely. Jax rubbed his face. Well, I did say I liked pizza. Ziri handed him a small tool from her belt. It looked like a multi-tool, but with alien buttons and flashing lights. If you're coming with me, she said, you'll need this. Jax took it. What does it do? Ziri smirked. You'll find out. As they walked away from the wreckage, Jax glanced back once. His old life, the quiet nights, the boring repairs, the lonely dinners, felt like it belonged to someone else. Now, he was helping an alien girl protect something powerful enough to destroy planets, and somehow, it felt right. Jax and Ziri moved through the dark streets of old Seattle, staying off main roads and under broken lights. The city above them was quiet, but Jax knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. VexCorp would send more drones, bigger, smarter, faster ones. They reached an old subway tunnel covered with rusted signs and graffiti. Most of the lights were out, but Ziri led the way without hesitation. Where are we going? Jax asked, stepping over a pile of broken glass. To find someone, she said. Someone who might help us understand what I am. They walked deeper, underground until they came to a heavy metal door. Ziri placed her hand on a scanner beside it. After a few seconds, the door groaned open. Inside was a hidden workshop filled with blinking screens, floating data panels, and humming machines. At the center stood a large robot made of mismatched parts. Its eyes lit up when they entered. Ziri? The robot said in a crackling voice. Is that really you? Ziri stepped forward. Hello, old friar. Jax raised an eyebrow. Old friar? That's your guy? The robot tilted its head. He's with you? Ziri nodded. Yes, and he helped me survive. Old friar looked at Jax. You must be very brave, or very foolish. Jax shrugged. Maybe both. Ziri held up the glowing orb, the stellar seed. I need answers. About me. About this. Old friar beeped, softly. Then let's begin. They sat around a cracked table while old friar connected to Ziri's systems. Wires ran from his chest to a port on the back of her neck. Her eyes flickered as data flowed between them. Jax watched nervously. This isn't going to hurt her, right? No pain, old friar said. Only truth. Ziri stayed still, her expression calm. Then suddenly her eyes widened. I remember, she whispered. What? Jax asked. Ziri looked at him. I wasn't just a delivery girl. I was built for something bigger. Old friar turned one of his screens toward them. Lines of code scrolled fast, then stopped on a single word. Project Synth Human. Jax read it aloud. Synth Human? What does that mean? Ziri swallowed hard. It means I'm not just alien, I'm artificial, made in a lab. Part machine, part memory. Jax stared. You're saying you're like a robot? Ziri shook her head. Not exactly. I feel things, I dream, I care. But I was created to replace something. Replace what? Jax asked. Old friar answered. Organic life. There was silence. Jax leaned back. Okay. That's not creepy at all. Ziri looked down. The war destroyed so many species. Galactic Pizza Express was part of a secret plan. To build new beings who could survive where others couldn't. Beings who could rebuild the galaxy. Jax frowned. So you're not just Pizza Girl. You're a new kind of human? Ziri nodded slowly. I think so. But something was wrong with the project. Not all of us survived. Those who did were hunted. By VexCorp, Jax said. Yes, Ziri said. They wanted control. They saw us as tools. Weapons. So they shut the project down, erased the labs, killed everyone. Jax looked at her carefully. And you're the last one? Ziri didn't answer right away. Then she said, I don't know. Maybe. Old friar beeped again. There's more. He pulled up another file. This one had a message embedded deep in Ziri's core programming. She played it. A soft voice filled the room. If you hear this, I'm sorry. You were never supposed to remember who you are. Ziri's eyes filled with light. Not tears. Something deeper. Realization. Jax put a hand on her shoulder. Hey, you're real. That's all that matters. Ziri looked at him. But if I remember too much, I might stop being me. Jax gave a small smile. Then we'll make sure you don't forget the important stuff. Old Friar interrupted. We have bigger problems. He turned a screen toward them. On it was a map of Earth. Red dots blinked across cities. Jax pointed. What's that? Old Friar said. VexCorp is planting tracking devices near major population centers. If they activate them. Ziri's face went pale. They can use the seeds to destroy entire cities. Jax stood up. We have to stop them. Ziri looked at him. Even if it means facing more than just drones? Jax nodded. Even if. Ziri stood too. She placed the stellar seed back in her pouch. Then let's move, she said. As they left the workshop, Jax glanced back at Old Friar. You gonna be okay here, eh? Old Friar beeped. I always am. Outside the rain had stopped. The sky was clearing. Ziri looked up. Somewhere out there are others like me. Jax smiled. Then let's find them. Together, they walked into the night. The sky, over New Seattle, turned dark again. Not from clouds this time, but from something far worse. A massive VexCorp warship hovered above the city like a metal storm cloud. Its shadow swallowed buildings whole. From its belly, dropships began to descend, sleek and silent like falling knives. Jax and Ziri stood on the rooftop of an old diner, watching through cracked binoculars. They're not just here for us, Jax said, voice tight. No, Ziri agreed. They're here to take control. She opened her pouch and looked at the glowing stellar seed inside. Its light pulsed slowly, as if it could feel the danger too. Ziri had learned the truth. She was more than a delivery girl. She was part of a lost project meant to rebuild life across the stars. But VexCorp wanted to twist that power into something else. Something dangerous. They want to use the seeds to reset entire planets, she said. To remake them in their image. Jack shook his head. I don't even know what that means, but I do know one thing. They won't stop until they have every last seed. Ziri nodded. Then we have to stop them first. Jax gave her a look. You say that like it's easy. It won't be, she admitted. But we can't let fear decide our future. Down below, chaos spread through the streets. People ran as VexCorp soldiers marched in formation, scanning faces with glowing visors. Drones flew overhead, broadcasting a cold, mechanical voice. This city is now under VexCorp protection. Resistance will be neutralized. Jax groaned. Great. Corporate overlords with guns. Ziri tapped her wrist device. A small map appeared. There's a hidden tunnel under the old subway. It leads to the main VexCorp communications tower. You want to go into the lion's den? Jax asked. Yes, she said. If we can shut down the signal hub, we can disrupt their control grid. Buy time for people to escape. Jax sighed. I really hate this plan. Ziri smiled slightly. But you'll come anyway. He smirked. Yeah, I guess I will. They slipped through alleyways and broken back streets, avoiding patrols and drones. The city was changing. VexCorp banners hung from buildings and armed. Guards stood at every corner. Finally, they reached the entrance to the old subway station. Thick vines and rust covered the doors, but Ziri knew the way. Inside, the air was cool and still. Dust floated in the beams of their flashlights. They moved carefully through the tunnels following signs that glowed faintly with ancient energy. After a while, Ziri stopped. What is it? Jax whispered. She held up a hand. Listen. From deeper in the tunnel came soft voices. Not VexCorp, not machines. People. They followed the sound and found a hidden camp in one of the old train platforms. Dozens of refugees, humans, aliens, even a few old AI units, had taken shelter there. One of them stepped forward, a tall man with scars and a heavy coat. "You two aren't from around here," he said. Jax raised his hands. "We mean no trouble." The man studied them, then looked at Ziri. "You've got the look of someone who's been running." Ziri met his eyes. "Yes, and I'm not done yet." The man's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" Ziri took a breath. Then she said, "My name is Ziri. I used to deliver pizza. Now I fight for freedom." The man stared. Then he smiled. "Well," he said, "you came to the right place." Later, by the light of flickering lanterns, Ziri explained everything, the Stellar Seeds, VexCorp's plans, how they needed to strike fast before more forces arrived. The group listened in silence. When she finished, the leader, his name was Ren, nodded. "We've been hiding long enough," he said. "It's time we hit back." Jax looked around at the group. "So, you all want in?" An alien with 4 arms cracked his knuckles. "I haven't punched a corporate drone in weeks. I'm getting bored." A small robot beeped. "I can hack security systems." Ziri smiled. "Then we have a team." As they made their final plans, Jax leaned close to her. "You know," he said quietly, "you didn't have to come back here." Ziri looked at him. "I did. Because I'm not just fighting for me anymore." Jax gave a slow nod. "Guess that makes 2 of us." Outside, thunder rolled again. But this time it wasn't a storm coming. It was revolution. The plan was simple. Get inside the VexCorp communications tower, shut down the signal hub, and stop the activation of the stellar seeds across Earth. But as Jax had said earlier, I really hate this plan. They moved fast through the underground tunnels beneath the city. Ziri led the way, her glowing silver eyes scanning for traps and security points. Behind her came Ren, the leader of the rebels, and a small team of fighters, ready to make their stand. Jax walked beside Ziri, gripping the alien multi-tool she'd given him. He still wasn't sure what half the buttons did, but he figured if things got bad, one of them had to be for blowing stuff up. They reached a service hatch that led into the base of the communications tower. Ziri placed her hand on the scanner. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door hissed open. "Nice trick," Jax whispered. "I was built with access codes," Ziri said, "before they tried to erase me." Inside, the air was cold and sterile. White lights flickered above. Rows of machines lined the walls, all connected to a central console glowing red with energy. "This is it," Ziri said. "The control hub." Ren looked at her. "Can you shut it down?" Ziri stepped forward. Her fingers danced over the alien interface. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Then suddenly, a warning flashed. "Seed activation in progress." "No!" Ziri shouted. "They've already started." Jax looked at the screen. "How do we stop it?" Ziri's face was tight with focus. "We override the system, but someone has to reach the core chamber and manually disable the seed." Nodded. "I'll go." "No," Ziri said firmly. "This was my mission. I finish it." She turned to Jax. "You stay here. Keep the system from locking us out." Jax gave her a look. "And let you have all the fun? Not a chance." Ziri smiled slightly. "Let's go then." They ran through the halls of the tower, dodging patrols and avoiding drone scans. At every turn, VexCorp soldiers tried to stop them. But the rebels held the line behind them, buying time with every shot fired. Finally, they reached the core chamber. It was massive. A round room with glowing blue lines running across the walls like veins. In the center, a floating platform held the stellar seed. It pulsed with power, lighting up the dark space. Ziri stepped forward. Her pouch glowed as the seed responded to her presence. Suddenly, the lights changed to red. A voice echoed through the room. "Welcome, prototype Ziri." "Authorization confirmed." Jax frowned. "They knew you were coming?" Ziri didn't answer. She stepped onto the platform. At once, data streamed into her mind. Memories, voices, commands. She gasped as the truth hit her. "They're not just trying to destroy the seeds," she whispered. "They want to use them to rebuild the galaxy in their image. No freedom, only control. Jax grabbed her arm, then stopped them. Ziri closed her eyes. She reached deep into her programming, past layers of locked files and hidden commands. She found the override key, the final command buried in her core code. She pressed her palm against the seed. The room lit up. Energy surged through the walls. Alarms screamed. Across the city, the other seeds began to deactivate, but VexCorp wasn't done yet. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, tall, robotic, cold, CEO Unit Vex 9. Its voice was smooth, emotionless. "You cannot stop progress, Prototype Ziri." Ziri stood tall. "I'm not a prototype. I'm a person." Vex 9 raised an arm. Energy crackled around its hand. Jack stepped in front of Ziri. "Not today, Tin Can." He pulled out his multi-tool and finally found the right button. With a loud whump, a pulse of energy shot out, knocking Vex 9 off balance. Ziri used the opening. She jumped into the air, moving faster than humanly possible. With one strike, she shattered the core of the seed. Light exploded outward. When the glow faded, the room was silent. Vex 9 lay motionless on the floor. The seed was gone. Its power dispersed safely into the atmosphere. Ziri stood in the center. Breathing hard, Jax walked up beside her. "Did it work?" Ziri nodded slowly. "Yes. The seeds are no longer under VexCorp control." Outside, the sky cleared. The warships above began to retreat. Without the signal, they had no orders. Jax exhaled. "So, we won?" Ziri looked at him. "No, we protected something worth saving." Jax grinned. "Same thing, right?" Ziri smiled. "Maybe." As they walked back through the tower, the sounds of battle had stopped. Rebels cheered. Civilians emerged from hiding. For the first time in days, the city felt alive again. Ziri looked at the rising sun. "It's time for the final delivery," she said. Jax raised an eyebrow. "Another one?" She nodded. "To the stars." The city slowly came back to life. Lights returned to the streets. People stepped out from hiding, looking around like they couldn't believe they were still alive. VexCorp drones had stopped moving. Their warships vanished into space, their control systems now dead without the seed's signal. Ziri stood on a rooftop with Jax beside her. The sun was rising, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. "You did it," Jax said, rubbing his tired eyes. Ziri looked down at her hands. "We did it." She could still feel the power inside her, the memories, the knowledge, the purpose. She wasn't just an alien girl who delivered pizza anymore. She was something new, something more, and she wasn't alone. From the crowd below, people began to cheer. Not for VexCorp, not for war. They cheered for her, for the rebels, for the fighters, for the ones who chose to stand up when no one else would. Ren walked up to them, smiling under his thick coat. "We're already getting messages from other cities," he said. "Looks like word spreads fast when you knock down a corporate empire." Jax grinned. "Guess that makes us heroes." Ziri shook her head. "No, we're not heroes. We're just people who made a choice." Jax nudged her. "That's what heroes do." Weeks passed. VexCorp's remaining forces pulled back. Without the seeds, their plans collapsed. Across Earth, people started rebuilding, not just buildings, but lives. Hope. Ziri helped where she could. She taught others how to use alien tech safely. She shared knowledge from her old company, not for power, but for peace. And Jax? He stayed by her side. He fixed broken machines. He helped train the new tech teams. And sometimes late at night, he'd just sit with Ziri and talk about the stars. One evening, as they watched the sky darken, Jax asked, "What now?" Ziri looked up. "Now, we look forward." "To where?" "To the stars," she said. "There are others like me out there. Others who survived. Others who need help." Jax raised an eyebrow. "You mean we're going into space?" Ziri smiled. "Yes. If you come with me." Jax thought for a moment. Then he nodded. Yeah, I'll come. A few months later, a new ship lifted off from Earth. It wasn't big, it wasn't fancy, but it was fast and it was free. On board were Ziri, Jax, Ren, and a small crew of explorers, scientists, and dreamers. They carried maps of deep space, messages from lost worlds, and most importantly, hope. Their mission? To find others like Ziri. To protect those who needed protecting. And maybe, just maybe, to build something better than what VexCorp tried to create. As the ship cleared the clouds, Ziri sat near the window, watching Earth shrink behind them. Jax joined her. Sad. To leave? He asked. She shook her head. No, Earth will be fine. It has good people now. Jax leaned back. So, what now? Space pizza delivery? Ziri gave him a soft smile. Maybe someday, but first we have work to do. She reached into her pouch and took out a small glowing orb. Not a stellar seed this time, but something else. A message from across the stars. It read, "We remember the last order. We are waiting." Jax read over her shoulder. Who sent that? Ziri looked at him. Others like me. Jax exhaled. Well, guess this is just the beginning. Ziri nodded. Yes, a new galaxy, a new chance. She placed the message gently in the console. The ship adjusted course, flying toward the unknown. Behind them, Earth glowed softly in the dark, and far away, among the stars, something stirred, something hopeful.